Hey Space Watchers, and welcome back. It's day number 1 here at SP's Autumn Conference. And now I have the great honor to talk with Jana Robinson. And Jana runs the PSSI in Prague and in DC, of course. Jana, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you, Torsten, of thinking of me in regards to learning more about today's event.
Absolutely. So we just saw Jana on a panel. And a few things came up to my mind that I would like to ask her. So here we go. The topic of this conference is from ambitions to implementation in terms of space security. And your focus very much on the transatlantic relationships with the work that you do. What can we learn from the US in that term of how to implement space security?
Well, it is a complex question, but maybe I can just pull out one theme, which is Ludwig, the director of SPI, after summarizing our panel, said there is a question whether Europe has enough ambitions in that portfolio. Well, my take on is that actually the ambitions are growing, and they are also growing because the circumstances inevitably lead the countries in having to have a greater ambition in space. So, for example, if we talk not only about the major space countries in Europe like France or United Kingdom or Germany and others, but talking about other EU and NATO member states, their ambitions have gotten much bigger, for example, with the NATO declaring space an operational domain, because they also have to have a role to play. So I would say the ambitions are there, they're growing. The problem will be the configuring of that implementation phase.
That is something we will discuss then later, I'm quite sure, not today. So in your panel you mentioned China a few times for a good reason. And China is obviously one of the big threats at the moment that we see in space. So how can or how should Europe interact with China? I mean, Germany obviously had in the past a very tight relationship with common missions as well, which then broke at one stage. So what is your advice?
Mm-hmm. I think my main point at my panel concerning China with regard to space security was that as China's ambitions are really growing with a global ambition, I think that also impacts on how Europe configures its response. So I'm not talking about the global strategy vis-a-vis China, but from a security perspective, I think that we need to look at China much more closely than we did in the past, because it has implications not only for our militaries, but also for our economy and frankly for our role as a global leader in diplomacy and governance discussions.
Absolutely. This SP conference this year focused very much on defense, but that is a core topic for the PSSI, and it's your playground actually. So how is next year's conference planning going? Because now you're doing it on an annual basis. So what can we expect next year?
Thank you, Torsten, for mentioning our Prague Space Security Conference. It is a series we have held since 2010, and as you pointed out, we announced that we will make it an annual event starting next year. And we want to precisely focus on the nexus of operational capabilities, funding, and positioning of transatlantic allies and our like-minded partners in Asia in the global space realm. And I think that's going to be fascinating because we have discussed today already a lot of economic and financial aspects. For example, how do we protect our funding for our companies? How do we protect our future critical technologies in space? But also how do we not help fund our competition? So that will be part of that discussion as well.
Fantastic. I'm looking very much forward to this conference, and as soon as we have more details, we will let you know, of course.
Thank you.
Dr. Jana Robinson, thank you very much for your time, and with that, Space Watch out.
Thank you.